It's activated AF1. First and foremost, I'm going to say peace, power, and soul. And shout out to the Futuritarians. This video is going to be on the subconsciousness of a pedophile. See, when you're dealing with pedophiles, they always go to some old stuff that deals with children. They do it subconsciously and they don't even know why they're doing it because their mind is stuck on children. See, when you're dealing with the galactical code system, everything is being played out and put on the forefront. And when you're dealing with Neo, because Neo's back on the planet, when you're dealing with me, that is everything's going to be put out there. So you're dealing with people that subconsciously push pedophilia. They subconsciously push pedophilia. They don't even know that they're pushing it because that's in the back of their head. Anything that's in the back of your head is going to get put in the forefront during the age of Aquarius. During the age of Aquarius, anything that's put in the back of your head is going to be put on the forefront. So using this as an example, so if you're talking about Sesame Street, if your mind's on Sesame Street and you over 40 years old, 50 years old, and your mind's still on Sesame Street, you subconsciously is still a pedophile. Your mind should be past Sesame Street. Why is it still on Sesame Street? I don't know. I'm confused. Somebody has to explain that. Why is your mind still on Sesame Street? It's like, even when I was growing up, when I was 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, used to watch Sesame Street at that age. So if you can't extend past that and you get older and then you go back to that, that just means you're not futuristic. Even if you try to use it as an example, it doesn't matter because there's more examples out here. There's millions of examples that you could have used, and you use Sesame Street. That's why this stuff is so funny, man. I keep telling cats, man, they keep coming over here and they're gonna get bodied every time. Get bodied every time messing with the Futuritarians, man. Simple as that. So why Sesame Street is so significant? Because that deals with the youth, children. They watch Sesame Street. Well, dealing with this day and age, dealing with YouTube, a lot of people don't watch. A lot of children don't watch Sesame Street on YouTube because there's more stuff out here dealing with the cyberverse. But if you over 50, 40 years old and you're still talking about Sesame Street, or you try to use that as an example, that's a red flag right there. That's a red flag right there. Especially if you're trying to clown somebody and you're trying to disrespect somebody and you use Sesame Street. Out of the million examples that's out here on the planet, you use Sesame Street. Why is this so significant, AF1? Because that's showing you that some of these grown men still have a mind frame to touch children. Allegedly. Let me throw that up in there since I'm on a cyberverse. Allegedly. But see, that's why everything's being broke down through the cyberverse. And y'all know if you got molested when you was younger, if you a man or if you a woman and you got molested when you was younger, I got molested when I was younger. I got molested by my babysitter. I think I was like 9. I'm gonna give y'all a little bit of somebody F1 because I don't like going in the past because the past don't affect me. See, and when you dealing with teachers that go to Sesame Street to try and do a diss video, that's just showing you where their mind frame's at. Your mind frame's still on Sesame Street. I'm just using that as an example. No, you're not, because your mind's still stuck on children. Your mind's stuck on that frequency, the children frequency. Right? So going back to my story, yeah, I was molested. I was 9 years old. And I think she was like, I'm not sure, but she was like 13, 14, 15. I don't know. And my mom used to drop me off over there, and she used to always put me in the closet. She used to put me in the closet, and then she used to make me do, sexual things to her. And, like I tell people, I say, when it happens to a boy, it's a little bit different than a woman. But at the same time, yeah, it played a psychological effect on me. So what? You move forward. You get past all that stuff. Going back to pedophilia. Pedophilia. And I'm finna break that word down. That's why I'm saying, like, when I hear a teacher come over here right? Because you got teachers and you got receivers. Receivers, their neural cortex are being burnt out. So they have to go back to the loop and keep talking about everything they've been talking about. They can't tap into the future. So you're dealing with these receivers out here. The top receivers is going to always bring you something next. Always bring you intel. They're not going to go backwards and start talking about deities like the almond beans, the Jesus Christ, Yeshua. Let me keep going. Allah. Let me keep going. Buddha. Those are deities. Those are deities to control zeros, to control the ones. I mean, not the ones to control zeros. The ones control zeros. And now the ones, the true ones are back, and we putting everything on the forefront. These ones are mad out here because they've been living comfortable. So now you have to make a decision. Now you have to make a decision. Are you a one? Are you a zero? And who do you want to be around? Because there's ones out here that manipulate zeros. But are you going to be ones around ones? Or are you going to be ones around zeros? But going back to this video. See, when you're dealing with Bernie and Bernie and I forgot this dude. See, that's the thing. Like, I was just talking to the brother Zareas the other day on how my mind deletes stuff out of it. Because your mind is an organic computer. It can delete stuff out your mind. I might see a video, if it's not futuristic and it doesn't mean nothing for the future, I'll see a video and then I would look at that video and then I'll be talking to one of the futuritarians and I'll be like, I forgot what that video was about because it's not in the future. If you're in the future, that's what happens. You delete stuff because your mind is an organic computer. Well, going back to pedophilia, see, that's why I'm like, man, it's so funny dealing with these teachers because they body they self. It's so funny because they body they self. When you're dealing with pedophilia, right? Pet, what's the pet? See, you can't get this in a Webster dictionary. You can't get this off Google, Siri, and Alexa. What is the pet? A pet. What do you do to a pet? You control it. You make that pet do what you. If your pet's not doing what you say, if it's not domestic, if your pet's not domestic, I'm gonna give you an example. I trained 2 cats like dogs. This was back. I had moved into this duplex. Like, well, my daughter, she's 10. So I moved into this duplex like 8 years ago, and we had mice. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go get 2 cats. So I grabbed 2 cats, and the 2 cats actually, people used to come over there and be tripped out because I trained them like dogs. The cats knew not to come in my room. The cats knew not to go by the deck door. Every time I snapped my finger, the cat would listen. I used to make them sit down like dogs, all that stuff. And they're like, how did you train cats like that? Because some people have it and some people don't. Some people have it and some people don't. See, going back to the pet, when you're dealing with pedophilia, philia, feeling what? Your pet. You're feeling your pet. What is your pet? Now, when you're dealing with pedophiles, pedophilia and pedophiles, when you're dealing with pedophiles, they're always going to have a subconscious mind frame of going back to what children deal with. They're going to always go back to what children deal with, dealing with pedophiles. Subconsciously, they're going to do it, right? They're going to go back to Sesame Street. They're going to always be around parks. They're always going to be at amusement parks, right? They're not going to be too much at schools because the thing about the school zones is, you got a lot of people out there, and shout out to the teachers and shout out to the staff that's at schools right now, and they keep their eyes open for these pedophiles. Shout out to them because schools are really kind of difficult to really manipulate a child at a school zone because there's too many eyes out there. But they know where to go. They know where to go. You know where they go? They go to Sesame Street. That's where these pedophiles go, man. They go to Sesame Street. Pet. Breaking down the word pet. Pet. What is a pet? Something that you have to control, give orders to. What's the A? The A. Pet files. right? So what happens? What happens when you're a pedophile and you get out of jail? What happens? You have a file. You have paperwork for what? Any community you move into. You have paperwork, pet a file, the A. Because you got the bogus A's out here, and then you got the ones, the 1111s. Pet a file. So when you're dealing with this stuff, it's always going to be subconscious signs dealing with the galactical code system. These grown men that actually think on this level, they're being exposed because now Neo's back and Neo's putting everything on the forefront. So it's so funny when everybody comes, well, not everybody, when teachers come over here and test me, I'm like, dude, that's suicide. That's just like straight suicide every time you come over here, because we're going to put your shit on the forefront dealing with these subconscious pedophiles. Right. And then, like, the thing about a subconscious pedophile, if you can't tap out that frequency, if you can't tap out the pedophile frequency, then what's going to happen? Right. Dealing with your children. Right. You're going to have to always keep it, because a lot of, it don't matter. You can, like, there's so many children that are born and they reject what their mama and dad taught them. There's so many children that was born and reject what their mama and dad taught them. Right. I'm gonna go back. I'm dealing with the what do they call those that one group of people that don't use electricity? Oh man, it's like right there. A lot of them live in Pennsylvania. Because when I went through Pennsylvania a couple of times, I've been to New York 4 times. I've been to New York 4 times. I've been to New York multiple times. My son is from Connecticut. My son lives in Connecticut. Right? I've been to the East Coast multiple times. It's not nothing to go to the East Coast. That's like riding a bike. So when you're dealing with, the Amish, they're called the Amish, right? When you're dealing with the Amish, right? They don't deal with no electricity, no, they stay everything that's natural, dealing with the Amish. But going back to pedophile and pedophilia, pet-a-philia, filling the children, violating the galactical code system. And if you violate the galactical code system, dealing with the mindset, because there's no reason that you over 50 years old and you still thinking about Sesame Street. How ironic is that, AF1? Because their mindset is still on pedophilia. Even if they're not doing it, their mindset's still there, because the galactical code system is going to always put this shit on the forefront. There's nothing nobody can do about it dealing with the 1111. There's nothing nobody can do about it. Everything's getting put on the forefront, right? And dealing with Dr. Malachi Z. York students. Dealing with Dr. Malachi Z. York students, right? What was one student? Because I don't do stuff about celebrities, teachers, and this and that unless they come over here and they get bodied. They get bodied messing with Neo. I saw I'm like, dude, this is suicide. Like, what happened to Polite? Alleged charges. And it was so funny because I was talking to the brother, one of the Futuritarians, and I told him, I said, you know what's so funny about that? I said, he probably gonna beat that case. And said, Polite probably gonna beat it. You know what I mean? But who was Polite's teacher? Dr. Malachi Z. York. That was Polite's teacher, right? So all these students that Dr. Malachi Z. York had produced that are teaching into this day, they have that subconscious mind frame, is because he's already been convicted of this. So even if he did it or he didn't do it, it doesn't matter. You've been convicted. So now when you're going through the cyberverse, I can say this. So when you're dealing with his students, if he was doing that, then his students have that same mind frame. So that's why they go back to Sesame Street. Even when you try to make a diss video, you go back to Sesame Street. Out of 1 million videos that's out here, 1 million topics, you go back to Sesame Street. Pedophilia mind frame. And see, that's why when you're dealing with people's children and they got to the reason why they got to keep people that think like this, they have to keep a super eye on their children, because they already know where their mind frame's at. They already know where their mind frame's at. And, when you're dealing with shit, man, that's how the universe works. Your children, you can teach your children whatever. Going back to the Amish, there's so many people, there's so many children that leave that community and they come out into the modern world. It's the same thing dealing with organizations, right? You want your child to be this perfect, not even perfect, but perfect dealing with what you teach. You want them to be drained in that. And when they get burnt out, they leave and they come find the source. Yeah, going back to Dr. Malachi Z. York. See, all the students that was under Dr. Malachi Z. York that's teaching right now, they still have that mind frame on them. They got that pedophilia mind frame. Because if they didn't, they wouldn't post stuff like this and try to make a diss record. Try to make a beef record on a cyberverse, because this right here was actually just suicide. Dealing with the pedophilia mind frame. That's the A. That's for the almond. And then philia, filling them up, touching them, violating their private space. Having it in your mindset is more critical than actually doing it, because when you have it in your mindset, then you do stuff like this, is post videos about Sesame Street, trying to diss somebody, trying to downplay somebody, trying to downplay the Futuritarians, and it's not going to work. Everything's going to be back. Everything's going to flip back to you. Now, was it your teacher, Dr. Malachi Z. York? Wasn't that your mentor? Wasn't Dr. Malachi Z. York your mentor? Right? Don't you talk highly about him? Right? Where's he at? You know what I'm saying? That's why I said, man, you come over here, it's not gonna go good for you every time, because your mind is not tapped in. Everything that you do, we're gonna counteract that. And we're gonna fire shots back. And our shots make people think. You know why they make people think? Because they go back to their childhood. Then they start looking at you. Then they start questioning, what is this for? What is this for? Then they start questioning that. But yeah, man, I was cracking up when he had put that video out about Bernie and Earth. See, my mind gets deleted from this stuff. I don't even watch stuff. My mind's not even tapped into this frequency. If I was going to make a diss track or a diss record or a diss video about somebody, it's going to be futuristic. It's not going to go back in the past. That shows you that these teachers are still tapped into this frequency. This is evidence being put out. This is just like going to court. That's why I said, man, every time somebody come over here, they're going to get bodied through the cyberverse. How the fuck you going to body Neo? Activated Neo. Don't even make sense. Dealing with your six senses. Well, five senses, but sixth sense, that's a whole different video. I done broke that down before. But yeah, Dr. Malachi Z. York, all his students has what? Subconscious mind frame of pedophilia. It's the activated AF1. If you like the way the world is, don't like, don't share, don't subscribe. If you want us to alter, subscribe at the speed of light. It's funny as hell.